I don't know if home is people, if home is just outside to me, because when I'm outside, I do feel at home.
Everyone deserves a home that brings them joy. Maybe you're an artist or a collector, or maybe you're an athlete or a chef. Everyone deserves a home that's a reflection of their personality. So we wanted to talk to some of the most interesting and inspiring people we could find about how their passions and their personalities impact the homes they live in today. Dana Cama is a conservation-focused wildlife photographer who lives full-time in her converted Sprinter van with her 2 dogs. From her time living in bear camps in Alaska to swimming with whales in Baja Sur, she's captured intimate moments in nature to bring awareness and funding to the fragile ecosystems that these wild animals call home. She's also one of my closest friends and the kind of person that will call me on a Tuesday and ask me if I want to go to the Galapagos with her on a Thursday. Hey, Dane. You know I don't live that life.
I'm actually going to ask you about something like this.
Where are we going?
Antarctica.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Dana.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I've said this to you a million times, and I think the lifestyle and the home that you've built for yourself is such a direct connection to your passions and your personality that I think you are one of the perfect people to talk to for this series. So can you bring us back for a little bit and tell us what home looked like growing up?
Sure. I grew up on Long Island. I grew up on a canal, a small, modest house. My dad fixed it up totally by himself. Very fortunate to grow up going out fishing with my dad all the time. And that built this like deep connection to the ocean with my dad. So I had a little Zodiac as a kid that I would take out as my noble steed to explore the water constantly. And I think that's what built this like deep connection with the environment for me growing up.
Do you think there was a certain moment that kind of sparked your interest in wildlife or conservation and kind of made you realize that you were lucky enough to be raised in it?
Hurricane Sandy deeply affected my community, pretty much devastated the community that I grew up in. Fortunately for my parents' home, it was probably the least affected on the block that I grew up on, but almost every other home in our neighborhood was filled up like a fish tank floor to ceiling with water. We all had boats on our front lawns. Some boats went through homes. We did have some flooding in my home, but it wasn't nearly as bad as most of the others in our community. And I just saw like the horrible destruction that had happened. And I mean, it was so directly tied to the climate, like the real disaster that had happened. I mean, that storm is what made me sort of look at, man, I think I need to like do something with working with the environment. I had already had an interest in photography and like cared a lot about animals and wildlife. But I think that specifically had made me be like, oh, I think I need to like do something to work with the environment specifically, because it was just really heart-wrenching to see my community affected so deeply by this like environmental disaster specifically. So I was in college at the time, and after that I started minoring in environmental sciences. I was majoring in photojournalism, and I was like, oh, I think I need to like have more of a focus in environmental studies. So
did you pull out the camera during Sandy? Was that kind of an eye-opening thing, or was that kind of an afterthought?
I did. I actually begged my parents to stay in our house during that storm. Like FEMA forced us to leave, like, you know, but I did photograph this, the after effects of the storm. And it's weird. Like I've got photos of my dad and my brother in these like full, it looks like apocalyptic suits, cleaning up all the trash and everything like that. That was like definitely like a turning point for me in my photography, for sure.
So, I mean, that seems like a pretty smooth transition to kind of the work that you're still doing today. Can you kind of just summarize, what your day-to-day or month-to-month looks like nowadays?
So right now I work for a conservation travel company. So I feel very fortunate to work in a part of conservation that brings people joy, and it brings me a lot of joy. We take people out on these trips who are seeking charismatic megafauna in all parts of the world. And I work on the marketing team and the photo and video departments, and I work with our field team across the whole world to capture what we're seeing all over the world, to share with our travelers, to get them to join us on trips, and also to share with them about the conservation work that we are doing, because we're partnered with the biggest conservation nonprofit in the world. A portion of those trips donate to wildlife conservation as well. So it's sort of this like positive way of contributing to wildlife conservation. I live in my little traveling home on wheels. I tend to move this van around to the different places that we work because I fortunately have a lot of colleagues that live all over North America, and I can kind of take my home and my dogs with me to those different beautiful places, and sometimes not in the areas that we work, but just go out and look for animals, because that's what I also just enjoy doing outside of work.
One of my favorite parts of our friendship is that I talk to you on a regular basis, and we'll be 10 minutes into a conversation like we are right now, and I'll have to ask literally the question I'm about to ask because I don't know where you are. Where in the world are you, Dana?
I'm currently in Whitefish, Montana, which is just outside of Glacier National Park. This is my second summer in a row up here. They call it the crown of the lower 48, the crown of the continent. I personally think it's the most beautiful part of the lower 48 states. And I love it up here. It's like, if I could spend every summer up in Alaska, I'd spend every summer up in Alaska, but it's just a little bit too far of a drive for me to do all the time. So this is about as close to that as I can get. Really, really beautiful, amazing wildlife. And it's very easy for me to live here. There's a lot of public land space that I can live and live comfortably. And there's a lot of really great animals. There's a lot of bears.
How long do you normally stay in one place?
I like to stay a couple months. I think a lot of people who live in vans move around a lot, and it gets pretty, for me at least, it would be very tiring. The first year that I lived in my van, I moved around a lot, and I work a full-time job, and it would be really tiring for me to move around that much. And I really like investing time in the places and the communities that I live in. I have friends who live in the places that I tend to visit, and I like spending time there and being a part of the community if I can. I got to Montana in June, and it's August now. I'll probably be in the state of Montana until October, until the weather turns. So I definitely try and invest time in a place.
What are the other places that you have either spent a significant amount of time since you've lived in the van, or maybe keep coming back to year after year?
I spend a lot of time in Baja, Mexico in my winters. I have a really great, beautiful community of friends down in Baja Sur. Also an incredible place for wildlife. I tend to go where the wildlife is, so that's where my heart is. I spend a lot of time in Colorado because that's where my job is based. I spent 5 months living up in Alaska. Probably go back there again next summer. Those are really the places that I've spent big chunks of time, and where I feel like I have a good community of people. I've spent time in California, though I do think California is one of the harder places to live in a van. Places that are more built up are definitely harder. I lived out there for a long time before I moved in the van. So the places that are wilder and have more space are just a lot easier.
So in that time since you've left LA, what has it been? It's been a couple of years now, yeah?
It'll be 3 years in January.
Amazing. How has living in the van or, living relatively transient lifestyle changed your definition of home?
I used to think that home was a physical place, that home was a space that I had to go back to. When I first started this, I used to think that this van was my home. Now that I've lived in this van for as long as I have, that perception has changed a lot. I don't know if home is people, if home is just outside to me, because when I'm outside, I do feel at home. Like, I actually struggle a lot with being inside. It rained last week for 3 days straight, and the inside of this van didn't feel like home. The community of people that I have in the different places that I love feel like home to me, and I miss them a lot when I'm not there, and I feel a pull to be with them, and I feel very lucky that I have that. And I question, is that what home is? Is home a people? Is home a place? And so sometimes I wonder, like, how could I ever just stay in one place? So my perception of home has changed a lot. The way in which people lived has changed so much over time. I mean, we used to be nomadic people. We stopped that and we all stayed in one place, and our communities were very small. And our version of home was just these small communities. And then the world got really big again. And now the way that I live, my communities are sort of spread out all over the place. So the definition of home is that mindset changes for me a lot. But it is something that I think about a lot.
What are the things that you have done or do in your van? I don't know, either work that you've put into it or things that you maybe bring into it on a regular basis that try to make it feel like home for those days when you are inside?
The things in my van that make me feel like it's home are small collectible things from people. Like, I have this little humpback whale painting that my tattoo artist in Baja gave me. Or I could go up in the front and like show you all these little shark teeth that I have, or animal teeth that I have. So those things, though they might seem weird as hell, that's like sort of what makes it feel like home in here for me. I have pictures of friends. I have drawings from my niece and nephew that I keep in here. It's really all the things that are like attached to people and memories in here that make it feel like home. And my dogs.
Did you have to teach yourself to let go of those things when you were building out the van and prepping to switch into this lifestyle? Or were you very comfortable kind of letting kind of possessions go and just going out and living in the wild?
In my early 20s, I moved quite a few times. I mean, I moved from New York to California. And then when I was in California, I moved like 3 or 4 times. And I think with every move, I let go of quite a few things, because anybody who's moved across country knows how much a pain in the ass it is. I started to lose attachment to things the more and more times that I moved. And yeah, when I first moved into this van, there was like an element of, well, it's just not going to fit, so I have to let go. The first year I lived in this van, I had a storage space with things that I was like, okay, when I go back into living into an apartment, I'll have all my stuff in this storage space. So I still had that like attachment to stuff. Lived in the van for a year, completely forgot what I had put in that storage space. And so I was like,
why do I have a storage space full of stuff if I don't even know what's in it? When I was living in an apartment, I was like, I was into like going to flea markets and like getting all the cool vintage shit and like all that kind of stuff. So it was like worth money and it was cool at the time. But after you live in a van for a year, you don't think about it. Not once. When I lived in the van for a year, did I think about that shit that was in the storage unit. And then I was like, I'm paying for this storage unit for this apartment that who knows when I'm going to move back into. And here I am years later, still don't know what was in that storage unit, nor do I care. And like, you know what? I'll think about buying stuff again eventually if I ever move back into a home. Because at the end of the day, like, it's just stuff. And I realized that the things that matter are just like these like special little things that like people that I love have given me. And it's like all these little things that I have in this van, I can like remember the exact moment that they gave it to me. A couple of the people who have come into my van have said to me like, you have such a small amount of stuff in here, but everything has like such an important purpose. I've only got 3 forks, but I've had 3 friends stay in this van with me at the same time, and we've all used those forks. But when I lived in an apartment, I had like 10 forks. What did I need 10 forks for?
But it at least seems to me like it's not just the small objects that are really intentional. I know how much time and design and work you put into the van itself and the layout and the circulation and all that stuff. Can you just kind of speak to like what your thought process was like when you were actually like, where are we placing a bed? Where am I putting a shower and all that kind of logic that you had to squeeze into the Sprinter?
Yeah, totally. So I spent 2 years building this van, and a lot of it was about space and design. And I thought a lot about, well, I have 2 dogs and I want to make sure that I have a maximum amount of space to have them too. And I work. I was able to figure out a way where I can have my bed fit width-wise. Sorry to anyone who's tall who comes and stays in the van with me, but it just fits me. And that way I could have more space in the rest of the van. I have my fridge, and right here I have this little slide out table that I can work from. I found a vintage stove and oven that I took off of an old boat. That's from the 70s. This oven was $100 and got it fixed up, put this in here. And this is like my favorite part of the van, but I had to like build around it basically. Yeah. Before this van, I was living, I spent a period of time living out of a car. So this is not my first rodeo. It was during COVID, and all of the campground bathrooms and showers were closed. So I was bathing in rivers, and I was like, when I build a van, I'm putting a shower in it. Yeah, it takes up space, but I use it. Like my drive up to Alaska, I needed this shower. Like there was a lot of time where I didn't have access to showers, and this has been the only way that I would have been able to bathe. And I like kind of have everything in here that I need, and it took a lot of design, fitting a lot into a really, really small space. Like literally every inch in this van space has mattered. And I'm really grateful for my dad who, like I mentioned earlier, like rebuilt their whole house. My dad also has a lot of experience with working on boats and 12-volt systems. So he helped me tremendously with the wiring in this van. He taught me plumbing. He taught me how, like, installing propane gas, literally building the cabinetry sometimes around the plumbing and the gas. Like, so much of what I thought I wanted in this design, we couldn't fit because of fitting it around the plumbing and the gas. And like, so it was a lot of learning. And I've had so many people be like, this came out so great. You should just like do this for a living. And I'm like, I'm good actually. Like, I actually never want to do this again. I just want to like use this for as long as possible. And then I'll probably get a truck camper. Like, I'm so good on building vans, but thank you.
Our clients have written hit songs and launched iconic art galleries, designed timeless fashion and produced classic films, crafted stunning furnishings, developed addictive games, and founded innovative companies. They deserve a home where they can rest, play, and be inspired. We're the Up Studio, and we design creative places for creative people.
The whole reason you built this was so that you can have a home that is essentially in the wild. What's the best thing you've seen outside of that van window?
I purposely go to places where I know that there is wildlife around that I love. So like the area that I'm currently in, there's a ton of bears around, and right now it's berry season and there's just tons of berries around. And not only do I like eating berries, but bears love eating berries. A couple weeks ago, I woke up to a black bear cub just in my camp eating Saskatoon berries. And it was beautiful. And I got to just sit in my van and look out the window and watch this little cub eating Saskatoons. Like, that was probably one of my favorites. Up in Alaska, I had a moose and a calf literally almost graze my mirror and walk right around the van. Like, animals are so habituated to cars that like I'm right on the other side of the glass and they just don't even know I'm there. Also recently I had some bear cubs up in a tree, like where I was camping too, 2 of them. And I'll be in meetings at work and I'll be like, sorry guys, there's an animal like right outside the van, like when I'm in a meeting. And they always tell me that I'm a wildlife magnet. And I'm like, I'm actually not. It's just, I live outside. There's a whole world living and breathing around us, but we're just inside. So, yeah, I mean, it's super fun that I don't even have to do any work. They're just around.
Are there things that you've learned from just observing animals that has either been meaningful for you or maybe something that you brought into your own life?
Yeah. The thing that I've learned the most is patience, really. I think it has made me an incredibly patient person, which I'm super grateful for. To want to spend any amount of time with animals, you have to be incredibly patient. The second thing, this last winter, I spent some time with the gray whales in Baja. And these whales used to be hunted. They are now incredibly curious, push their calves up to our boats and are looking for scratches and are very curious and show friendly behaviors is how we would determine them. And it's very emotional, but it's also, to me, shows like examples of forgiveness is the way that I could interpret them. And that is like a pretty big emotional lesson for me, is that we do such terrible things to the environment. We're the only species that really just takes and doesn't participate in the circle as the rest of them do. And so to see such a brilliant species like gray whales, we just think, well, we're above them because we don't speak the same language. But to see that sort of forgiveness is really moving. And so I definitely take that with me everywhere I go.
I mean, it seems like a lot of what your company does is try to bring people into having those experiences where they can feel that connection on a lot deeper level than reading it in a book.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of is essentially what it is. It's bringing small groups of people to tread lightly in places, to have intimate moments with nature, and for them to bring that back to their community, to have a positive impact on their community and nature and an environment, and share that with others. For me, the way that I see that I hope that it can grow is to make that, I'm saying attainable, but giving access to that for everyone, because I think travel is not necessarily something that everyone can do. I know, like, my friend Josie lives in the Galapagos, and even people who live in her community can't afford to go out and actually see the wildlife. So to give more access for people to have those kinds of experiences, that way that they can have more impact in their own communities, that would be a long-term goal for me.
Are there small things that anyone can do to invite more nature or wildlife into their living situation? Or would you say that's actually the opposite? Like, should we be staying out of their habitat and making time to visit it or experience it separately?
I mean, there's nature and wildlife everywhere that you look, right? Yeah, it's not always going to be charismatic megafauna, but squirrels and birds are everywhere. And birds are kind of the entry into nature that we all forget about. And once you access birds, you have access to everything. But I mean, whenever I go back to Long Island, I take my nephew out to Fire Island and I take him to go and see deer. And we go and look for foxes. And he's like, this is the best day of my life. You know, like, he freaks out. And also, like, there's ways to help with rewilding habitats in all different areas. I know on Long Island, people are, like, freaking out about coyotes coming onto the island. And it's like, well, we could actually be embracing this. You know?
And we skimmed over it a little bit, but can you talk about how you're using photography and video to, I don't know, maybe bring some of those experiences and stories to people who can't be seeing them on a daily basis, or maybe ever?
Photo and video is sort of the way in which you can connect people to these animals that they may never experience in their life. Polar bears, for example, right? Even for me, I never thought I'd see a polar bear in my life. I thought that was always something that would just live in a magazine. It connected me with them as a kid. And so now that's become video, really connecting people with an animal in an even deeper way. Luckily, through my job, we have access to these places. We can talk about the story of what's going on in these places and the threats to these animals' habitats, and help people understand or help people care, because at the end of the day, people are the ones who are making decisions, political decisions, or selecting their leaders who, if they don't know, they're not going to care and they're not going to vote. And not everyone is going to be able to fly up to Alaska and have an intimate experience with a bear. But if we can connect them with these animals and connect them with the belugas and the bears and the habitat, and talk about the people there who are affected, and connect them and talk about how similar we all are, connect them with the fishermen, and maybe it connects with a fisherman in New York and his story, right? And so photo and video are so incredibly important for that. And that's journalism, right? Because we're all much more similar than we think. So that's where I think that all ties together.
I'm going to start bringing us to the finish line, but I want to bring it back a little bit to the this idea of home. Not everyone is going to go through the great leaps that you've done to build a life and a career and a home around experiencing nature the way you do, but are there small things in architecture or interiors you could imagine people could bring into their home on a daily basis?
I think a huge start would be planting native species around their home. And also just think about how your home fits in with the landscape and how it affects the land. And for me personally, if I was to buy land, I would probably try and rewild that land. I'd think about, I had a conversation with my friend the other day about how he wants to buy land, build a raised home, and put a beaver on his land and just have a beaver lodge underneath his home. Like, beavers, incredibly important species, you know, like, don't fear having wildlife on your land. You have snakes on your property, like, not hiring snake removals that are gonna kill animals, like, you know, looking into safer ways to relocating animals if you fear them harming your kids or dogs or things like that. So just learning how to, like, educating yourself on, like, coexisting with nature and having a more wild landscape that is more inviting could be great.
So if you were to build another home, if you were to pick a spot that you were going to stick to at some point in the future, is there something that you know you would definitely need to have in that next home?
I think if I were to have a next home, it would probably just have a washing machine.
Thank you so much for doing this, Dane.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
As we discuss in these conversations, we really believe that the best home designs are the ones that are the most personal. So if you're looking to pair your personality, your passions, and your lifestyle with home design amenities for a future project, jump over to our website or check out our card game, Personal Space.